Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Benjamin Breaker Novotny, and I'm back with another replay that I took from Midday. That would actually be Complexity's Midday, aka Samuel HuK. And this is the handsome devil himself, spawning at the 4 o'clock position of Ruins of Seras. It is Complexity's Midday. And this is a little bit awkward. I never would have thought you could spawn at this location on this map in retrospect or regards to your opponent, but at the, it appears to be 2 o'clock position of the same map, Ruins of Seras, it's going to be Evil Genius's HuK. That's something that I wanted to do, but I didn't really get the chance to do. And I kind of just regret this a little bit. I didn't have a chance to change the observer interface. I'm going to be back with another replay after this one, and let me just change the interface before I get into that. Of course, it won't be able to change at all during this game. No, it won't change whatsoever. So don't get confused about that. But this is ZVP. It's another ZVP. I kind of wish we had some exciting higher level ZVT to watch. And we've got a gateway on the way coming from HuK. Meanwhile, we got Midday going for the expansion first. Gas follow-up before pool. And I feel like, personally, I guess, you know, we got a teeny bit of fill-in time. Just a teeny bit. Thoughts on the new Terran unit. That little, I forget the name of the guy, but he can move. He can shoot an absurdly long range, and he has an absurdly high DPS. I've tried throwing mutas at him in the early game. I've tried throwing roaches at him in the early game. I've tried lings and roaches, but that doesn't work out so well when your opponent has both Hellions and that new mechanical unit. I forget what it is, but anyway, I'm pretty sure someone's gonna figure out a way to take it down and tackle it out of the game. It's just that I don't know what the meta is versus that unit. Swarm hosts, maybe? Nah, couldn't be. These things, but I think it's a little bit absurd that it can shoot up and it's got such high DPS. I won't give it too much thought, and it can also attack buildings that when there's no vision of them on high ground, it's just the little things. But I'm not going to rant about imba all day long. We've got a game on our hands. The expansion is now done for Midday. We've got a lot of chrono boosts being stacked up for HuK at this moment, so I'm wondering just what on earth he's going to be doing with this. He's not using it on his gateway or his cybernetics core. That kind of indicates to me that he's got something else in mind, but it's not entirely, you know, black and white, plain as day planning. And much to the tune of Desro's game versus Midday, we actually see that there's a robo going down first. So I imagine he's going to be doing this to kind of stave off whatever early game aggression would come from Midday, and that would mean roaches, ravagers, things of that nature. That's what immortals are good for in the early game, and that kind of keeps them from being an overpowered all-in unit when you take away their hardened shields and replace it with an ability that only works for, say, a few seconds. Now, that being said, the Overlord has not actually poked in to really get a good look at what the tech is coming in here from HuK, and he does have vision of that robo. At least if he clicked on it, he should know what it is. And we're taking such a long time to get in-game music back online, but it's okay. This is a Blizzard title. It'll take a while. It'll take a while, guys. Maybe in one of the future patches. Who knows? Second gas now coming down from Midday. And that being said, it opens up a few more options. I'd say passive roach collection, if you will. A passive roach production, if you will. Here we are. And the third's about to finish up at a very, I guess you could say reasonably early time, at 3 minutes 50 seconds, as opposed to the Criterion 6-minute mark from the Wings of Liberty days when Stefano invented that meta. That game, the roach style, it was crazy back then. But yeah, there we go. That is a handful of gateways. A very small handful of gateways. And I don't know, I think maybe Midday has a full read into this, but at the same time he doesn't see what's being built over here, which is just another gateway. As the game carries on, I'd say that Midday has a solid opportunity to just go in and attack if he wants to. But the question is, what is he trying to do at this moment? Is he trying to get up to optimal 3-base saturation or not? This is a little bit tricky because, as you can see, there are mineral patches in the main that are starting to go dry. We're talking they're already at below the 400 mineral mark. So at this stage in the game, one thing that I am beginning to notice is that if we see HuK go for a 3rd base, which I think he's going to have to do in the long run to make himself a little bit more sustainable, because his own main will be going dry just like his opponent's very soon. If he is able to hold on at that point, his army, his production, his everything else in between becomes just a little bit stronger. But now we've already got the Warp Prism out on the map. Here we go. And I think it's got both of the Immortals inside. Yes, it would appear that it does. Here we go. He's going to try and continue this classic that's been around since the Wings of Liberty days, Immortal Drop Harass. But with Ravagers here, uh-oh. Yeah, those are not hardened shields, as you can plainly see. Queens acting as anti-air. I feel like this, you know, with Ravagers in the mix, this is a very suicidal decision to go for if you are HuK. But conversely, coming from Midday, if you are in this position, you are thinking, well, if he's got 2 Immortals in that, where are the 2 Immortals back at home for him? Those are quintessential in making the defense happen between the natural and the 3rd. And they are not present to help with the defense yet. Are they? There we are. Okay, they can be. They can be! Now, Ravagers, of course, don't get fooled, guys. These aren't simply beefed up roaches. They have... Oh, like, I love that. That's very nice. Very cheeky. Oh my god, he's got to pick up the Immortals! No, he does! For one. For one. The other one just, it got putrefied, if you will. But here we are. The question is, can the defense be made here at the 3rd while it's being taken? There hasn't been a 4th base started by Midday just yet, and this is where things will begin to scale off in favor of HuK if he can just hold on a little bit longer. But the Ravagers and the Roaches, they're just causing so much damage. The Corrosive Bio forcing these units to move out of position. Disruptor coming in here, now going to the center of these units. The Ravagers being split. Partition just a little bit, but now it looks like this is where the Disruptor falls. The Nexus Cannon goes down on the 3rd. We've got the Warp Prism coming in and trying to micro out some of these units. Corrosive Bio falling on the Warp Pins, but it's too much coming from our Zerg. It looks like this might just be a point in the game where Zerg is simply too strong, but now there's 2 Immortals being microed in a Warp Prism. The Nexus Cannon at the 3rd doing work as best it can. These Immortals also doing what they can. There's no sentries to force field off the natural expansion. Disruptor immediately comes out, gonna get a big chunk of Roaches. But it looks like, again, there's just a little bit too much here. When you've got Zealots fighting Roaches head on, that is never a good situation to be in unless they're 3-3 charge lots. That Nexus Cannon just saved HuK's skin. Alright, so checking Midday's present situation. Yes, he's got 4 patches in the main. But all of these, yes, all of these drones, they need a new home. They need a new home. And they need a 4th base to actually get started on mining with. Aggression comes earlier, much earlier in the game now. And this, oh boy. This isn't good. Here we go. Nice explosions there by the Disruptors. That was absolutely sick. Like you wouldn't even believe. But now there are Ravagers morphing right next to the 3rd base, and it looks like even with a slight delay, it may just happen all over again. Oh boy. Here we go. That chunk, boom! It saves that one Disruptor, and now it looks like this is Protoss being played as best it can. It's gonna try and stay alive a little bit longer. Boom! Again. The defense with the natural is happening. It's miraculous. But in this situation, I feel like, again, something's got to give, and HuK has no harass in the background. I feel like if he was able to shut down, Midday a little bit economically behind this, he would be in a fantastic position. But as he is right now, he's down 50-something supply to his opponent, 60-something now. I wouldn't say this is absurd, but rather I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? There's just, I feel like in some ways at this moment there's almost nothing that can be done. If he lets his opponent go back to macro up, then he gets ahead definitively. Yes, I mean there's only 4 patches in the main that are going to be mineable, but that's what it is. More engagements happening out in the open. I like HuK is actually climbing his way back into this a little bit. Despite his economic deficit. And the reason why is because he's using his disruptors excruciatingly well. Look at this. He's waiting for that opportunity where he can just dump that disruptor on top of these roaches and get some free kills. Free wins. Why not take advantage of it? Only a handful of units at this stage. There's a second disruptor with this army as well. And the hold looks like it'll be made. The third will be taken for the time being. But look at the sweet mother of reinforcements here. The supply discrepancy is becoming smaller and smaller at this moment. But guess what? There's a Spire on the way in the background. And Spire crushes anything from a Robo. There we go. The Disruptor's going again. Gonna blow up on some Lings and Roaches. Force Field's finally coming in here a little bit late, actually. And now, oh boy. I think that might have just done it. The Force Field's coming in just a little bit too late. Might have actually worked against HuK. Third base might be holdable. But there's 9 Mutas on the way and 13 Lings. Reinforcements coming back together. Midday, he just has a very, I don't want to say solid lead, but it's, the discrepancy is becoming smaller and smaller as time passes on. Oh boy. Disruptor, looking for that huge chunk of Lings, but they don't shoot up. No, the Disruptors, they do nothing to mute us. This is not looking good for HuK, as he's painstakingly looking for his way back into this game. Nexus Cannon and beautiful Force Fields will shoo away this army for the time being, but it's not going to just win him the game outright. He's got to be thinking, you know, what's the next big move? I'm kind of on the back ropes here. I'm struggling to take my third. My opponent's got 4 bases. He's continuing to spam units at me. Things like that. You have to play aggressive versus HuK, though, because he's got this play style that screams, if you don't put me on the back ropes early game, I'm going to kill you late game. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening at this moment. Right now, we can't see how much army supply there is unless I do this. Boom. That is a lot. That is not a whole lot coming from HuK. That is half of his opponents, but HuK moves out. He sees all of this. He walks straight into us around, and he just says, I don't want to play against this. He didn't have a Mothership Core with his army. I don't think he even had a Mothership Core. He had one back at home somewhere. Yes, it was on defense, but I mean, he saw this around that was coming in. He's like, I don't want to fight this. So that is another game from StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void, guys. I'll see you guys next time.